right now. All right, we're rolling.
All right, perfect. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Land Use Planning Public Works Committee to order. I'm showing 6:01 p.m. We'll move to roll call. I am present. Gary Paul, Councilor Rodriguez is here, and Councilor Marshall, you're right there, right? Yeah.
Yep, I'm here.
See you. So we have our quorum. And we'll move on to citizen comments. If anybody would like to speak? Hearing none. Informational items. I do not have any. Does anyone else have any?
No.
Okay, we have none. Review and approval of prior meeting for March 7th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved as written.
Second, Councilor Rodriguez.
Discussion?
I have one question for Roxanne. So in the meeting, I made a motion regarding shall the sale of recreational marijuana be allowed in? And then I said Ledyard, but in the minutes it shows up as name of municipality. So I take it I was
Yeah, that
supposed.
was, yeah, no, that's fine. I just took the question, the suggested question. So we will fill that in when we put it on the ballot.
Okay. And that was it for me.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion. All right, old business. Discussion regarding Public Act 21-1, legalization of cannabis, marijuana, retail stores, and micro-cultivator. Micro-cultivator, I think I said that. So basically, this is discussing what we moved last month to recommend to the council, be the question, and we talked about the facts sheet that would go out to the public on that. And I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at this draft
I read it. Yes.
and what comments that we have on that.
It looked fine to me. The only question I have, and I'm still feeling leery about it because I went back and looked at the Senate Bill 1201, Public Act 21-1. And it keeps reiterating that you need 10% of the residents to,
Well, I think the bill, I believe, says, right, it's either 10% or if the town puts it out.
that's not what I've seen. So where does it state that? It says effective July 1, 2021, if at least 10% of a municipality's electors petition for a vote to allow certain marijuana sales, it must be done at least 60 days before a regular election. If met, the municipality must hold a referendum to determine whether to allow, and then goes on to 1 and 2.
Right.
That's,
But
I
what
keep
it doesn't,
reading.
what it doesn't say, Naomi, is, it's silent where it doesn't say that the municipality can't just put the question on themselves. So it doesn't say we can, and it doesn't say we can't. It's just saying that if we get petitioned by 10%, we have to put the question on. So that the town has decided, let's just put the question on and put it out there and go from there.
Okay,
It doesn't say that we can't.
I hope you guys are right, because I'm just a little worried.
Yeah, I see what you're reading.
I think when we first started discussing this, Mike Cherry is the one who said, there's nothing that prevents us from putting the question on ourselves. So let's just be proactive and put it on.
Have we asked anyone from the state? Have we asked anyone from the state or any of the other towns?
We have not, but we can.
We could do that. That would alleviate my, my concern.
Okay.
I just don't want a mistake to happen and then we're,
I'm just, excuse me, I'm just kind of overviewing again. I'm just trying to.
there's a document that's like 100 and, well, it's 180 pages, but in reality it's 300 and some. I looked through that and I couldn't find it anywhere. And that's what I'm worried about.
So on the draft though, what concerns or what things does what kind of comments do we have on that as far as the facts to know?
I looked at it and I compared it to that 180-page document. And everything looked fine to me. How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just had. I mean, yeah. I think I just answered my own question. John, would you have a chance to, Councilor John, did you have a chance to look at this?
I have not. I'm looking through it now. Everything looks pretty much boilerplate. Naomi, what are your concerns with it?
My only concern was the, is that everything I read says that you have to have at least 10% of municipality electors petition for a vote to allow this to go on referendum before a regular election. And we are just having the town council do it.
Oh, instead of 10%?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like asking the same question twice almost.
I
But
don't
that
want to
is-
run out.
But that is the way it's written.
I will bring up one thing on this, and just to Councilor Rodriguez's take on this is the very first thing on the fact sheet actually says the same thing. So if I was reading this, as a, I get this information and I say, my first thought is, so 10% of the people in Ledyard already wanted this. Does that make sense? Am I making sense there?
Well, it might be hard to get 10% of people to show up for a vote.
No, but what I'm saying is if I'm looking at this the fact sheet is what's supposed to go out, right? And that's what's giving the public an idea of what we're asking, right? So this is what we're saying is that on the November 8th, 2022, we're going to ask this question. So if I'm reading the fact sheet on this, I'm looking at it in one of the very first lines, and that is effective July 1st, 2021. If at least 10% of the municipality electors petition to vote to allow certain marijuana sales. So that would tell me, just as a resident trying to gain facts, that, well, 10% must have, just to your point, the 10% must have petitioned to put this question on the ballot.
Right,
And that would
it's
be
the-
my first question to councilors would be, well, so 10% petition for this? Does that make sense?
No, not really. I see what you're saying though. And how do you get 10% to answer a question like that?
You don't get 10% to come out and vote. You just need 10% of the electors to put their name on a petition. You can do that at a farmer's market easily.
Other than that, that's everything is right off the.
I think you should ask an attorney to see whether or not a town council can initiate the referendum or if it has to be the electors.
Agree, because I don't want a mistake to happen and we're running out of time because
Right.
it wants 60 days before the election.
I think it's probably okay, but the way that's worded, I would suggest maybe we get a clarification. Only because it says if, at least. It's not counting on you trying to be proactive. It's counting on, this is written as if it's gonna
Right.
take 10% to initiate it, but they weren't counting on the fact that a town would just initiate it.
Right, so, so an interesting question, I think I asked this before, but, so Juliet, if, let's just say we decided to take really no action or nobody, we don't get that 10%, so planning and zoning could then take that themselves, is that correct? And just
Right.
say, well, we don't, and not allow it. Am I right
Yeah.
in that?
I think they could, no, it's because it says it has to, you do have to hold a referendum to make this decision. So I wonder, I don't know. I really don't know. I think we should get clarification on that. If it's not, when I get back, I'm at home now, but if I get back to work tomorrow, I can look at the CCM handbook or, the summary that they did on all of this and clarify it in there. I think they're just assuming people are going to be against it. So that's written this way.
That's my only concern.
Scroll down again to municipalities and zoning. I just want to see something if it says it in that paragraph. Okay.
Well, I was kind of.
Number and location through zoning. Now, I think the town has to decide whether or not they're going to allow it. And if they do, then the planning and zoning comes up with the regulations of how to regulate it.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with you then, I would just double check on that.
All I remember
reading.
is
So what happens if we don't get 10%? Can we just go ahead and send it through referendum?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Because the two ifs
That's
kind of
what-
cancel each other out.
SB 1201. If you look at page, you got to scroll down a lot. 123 to like 142. I'm just going to take too long right now, but
Yeah.
so if we can just get that question answered quickly. That's why I was hoping Kevin would be here because Chairman Dabrowski, because he seemed, I wanted to know why he said that the town council could act upon it.
Yes,
I
it
wanted
doesn't
to
say
know
what, it doesn't say what happens if you don't get 10%.
Yeah, it is interesting that it doesn't, like I said, it's almost written as if they're assuming that nobody wants it and it'll take 10% of people who do want it to push the question.
Right.
See, I determined it kind of the way I think that I heard it from Mike Cherry was that you could, towns could set regulations. This is how I understood it, that the town could set regulations or whatever, whether they wanted it or not. The town could make that decision through, and I'm trying to find it, through planning and zoning and, their own ordinances, but if 10%, so in other words, if the town said, well, we're not going to have this, and you make that ordinance, if to me, it was saying that if 10% petition to do that, you have to allow that to go to referendum. Otherwise, you don't even have to. That was how I understood it.
Yeah, it just seems like an extra step. I can't just put on a referendum.
It also could be saying like, so say planning and zoning makes up the regulations and it looks like they're going to plow through with, yay, marijuana, we're going to make our regs to allow it. And then 10% come up and say, wait a minute, we want to vote on that via referendum, that you have to let that vote happen.
Or the other way around, you make an ordinance against it and that we're not going to allow it. And then 10% say, well, no, that needs to be voted on. We want that vote. We want a right to say that we want it in our town. And then you have to allow that.
Right, so what you guys are doing is trying to get out ahead of it to figure out if
Correct,
we
and
want it or not, and
question-
then that we don't waste time making regulations.
Correct, and that was kind of where I leaned to when in my decision anyway, to say, well, why don't we just put the question and ask the people of the town, do you
Right.
want this or not? And then it's a yes or no question, and then you go from there.
I agree with you, Gary.
Yeah. Let's just make sure we are allowed to do it that way, I guess, but.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then as far as the, if that does go and we put this out and this is the language that we're going to use, as far as the fact sheet, I think it's from what I've read on it, it's establishing exactly what that is, even though I still think people are going to want to know, they'll ask the questions of well, how and where and all that, which is not to be determined at that point. It's just a simple question of, are we using it? And this is why we're asking that question. And that's what this draft is supposed to be, if this does go to referendum, this would be the fact information sheet we talked about,
Yes, and I like it.
right? To say, okay, well, this is why we're asking the question. This is what that question is about.
Is there anything else you think should be added or deleted? I wouldn't delete
I wouldn't believe.
anything.
I mean, it's really just taken, straight from the,
Well, that's what it is. It's just a fact. It's just giving them the facts.
right.
It's
Okay.
not intended to put anything extra, in there. You don't want to sway them one way or the other. You just want to give them the facts.
Right. We could vote on this tonight, but if I could get my question answered. Because my question has nothing to, we can still vote on the fact sheet.
Correct, because the other item was actually already recommended. So yes, yeah, you can make that motion. Did you want to make the motion? I'm not used to my little screen here. I'm used to my two big screens. I'm out of the basement.
Are you guys at the town hall?
Yeah.
There's no motion here.
No, but you right, we could make that a motion to recommend this draft, Roxanne.
Yeah, or you could just make a motion to do that, or to forward it to admin for their review.
I would feel more, I would like to just forward that to admin for their review. And then if it wants to, right, because they could always kick back if they wanted to on anything.
Right.
So, we could just recommend that it'd be, we could forward this to admin and have them look it over. And
As long as we don't lose too much time between admin and a legal opinion to be.
Right.
that's why I want to do something tonight,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I think it's gonna go there anyway. And I do think it's important, to have facts, out so that people understand, why we're asking this question.
Okay, so I will make a motion to accept the draft of facts to know regarding the retail sale of adult use of cannabis. Be sent out to the residents of Ledyard. Nope.
I just found something, Naomi.
Okay,
So under the fact sheet for this, it says, it's talking about local controls, what the host communities can do, blah, blah, blah. Allows local referendum on whether or not to allow the sale of marijuana for adult use. To qualify for the ballot, 10% of the voters must sign a petition.
that's,
Okay,
yes. That's
That
what I
almost
did.
answers, but
That,
Yeah,
Right.
we
see
should
that,
definitely get it clarified.
that's what it says on the fact sheet also.
It's with the punctuation, it's a little in this particular sentence. I'm like, oh shit, that sounds like you do have to have a petition, but let's
That's how
carrying
I'm,
me their motion. I'll find this out tomorrow.
okay, so we can still make the motion because that's how it's stated in the fact sheet.
Yeah. This is a little
Yeah,
more.
see that?
Yeah.
that language is-
Roxanne, did you get that motion?
Right, yeah, you just said motion to accept or the facts to know regarding the retail sale of adult use of cannabis.
Right. Second?
Why don't you add to that, Naomi, in preparation for the referendum question? That
In
way,
For the November
Yes.
8th, 2022.
that way, if the referendum question doesn't go forward, if we find out that you have to have 10% and we don't have 10%, then, you know, it's kind of, this is hinging on that.
Okay, election. For the following question will be presented to the Ledyard voters. Shall the sale of recreational marijuana be allowed in the town of Ledyard?
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Us. Okay, any more discussion?
nope.
You're good?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so,
Let's move on.
yeah, it's really interesting on that one.
I don't want a mistake to be made.
No, I kind of agree with you on that one.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Tony Capon, Chairman of Planning and Zoning. I've not weighed in on this. May I?
Yes, sir.
My reading of the statute is that marijuana sales will be allowed unless there's a referendum that bans marijuana. The petition that will be circulated, and I agree with Juliet that it requires 10% of the electors. That petition will have to have the language of the referendum on the petition.
Right.
I do not believe that the petition then goes to council where council determines the language. The language has to be on the petition that people sign.
Right.
That's my opinion of it.
Right.
Well, I'll make a couple phone calls tomorrow up to the council of governments and to the attorney to see if they have just a clearer understanding of it.
Thank
I would
you.
expect they do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. Discussion, we're moving on to item number 2. Discussion and possible action to periodically review the list of town-owned property and update accordingly for the assignment of administrative control.
Okay, Juliet, do you have your copy in front of you?
I do not. I wasn't expecting to jump on tonight, so I came home without anything. Sorry.
Okay, well, it's not, I do have questions, but if you want, we can hold off on this till next month's meeting.
Sure, yeah, because I do wanted to bring up, I'm just trying to find.
Because I
here
am
real
ready to
quick.
go. I just would rather everyone have their copy.
Well, before we move on though, and that's fine, I do want, guys, sorry, this was in a different folder. Give me 1 second here. Okay. There are 2 properties that are not on there.
Oh, you can send that to me.
Okay. I just briefly, I sent an email to Chairman of Mike Marley of Conservation Commission. And there are 2 properties he said that were not on there. I can forward those to you so we
Okay.
can look into those.
Okay,
Because I had just emailed him a couple days ago. So I will forward those and then we can go through it next month. Does that sound good for everyone?
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm ready.
Perfect. Oops. Wrong one. Gotta get used to my laptop again. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on then. And we'll work on that next month. Item number 3, continue discussion regarding the progress of enforcing regulations to address blight issues.
Juliet.
We have a new zoning official that's sort of on loan from the COG, the Council of Governments. He doesn't have an extensive background in zoning, but he's their regional zoning enforcement official, for lack of a better word. So he'll be working 2 days a week, 2 10-hour days. Mike had made his way through a lot of the blight complaints that were open, so I don't think there's too many that are still, there's a couple that are ongoing, 3 that I know of. So I will let the new person know that he needs to write up a report for you every month on, you know, I assume you want just a record of new blight, ones that were resolved, right?
Now, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
but not every month. We just were asking quarterly.
Okay, well, I'll want it every month, so that way I'll have it for you quarterly, so.
Okay,
So do you
Thank
know of
you.
anything else that since the?
No, there haven't been any new ones.
okay,
That's
good.
good. All right.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, Julia, the properties that are abandoned, what is the legal status of those properties?
That are abandoned?
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to own them somewhere out down the line, right?
Couple on here.
There's always an owner, yeah.
Well, I mean, it says on here the complaint, abandoned, but.
I mean, you go at, when they get to the point that they're an attractive nuisance, for example, you get the building department involved to either condemn it or whatever, but then it's a very quick turnaround time for the building to have to be torn down. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room. But
Yeah, well, my end game with that question, I was wondering if the property could be somehow conveyed to Habitat for Humanity or some other charitable organization to make good use of the property.
you can't just take ownership. I mean, the town would have to take ownership through foreclosure or some other
Yeah, I
format,
mean,
but
there's a few steps in the middle I left out, but I was wondering if that was a possibility.
yeah, eventually you're gonna get through the court system first, so it'll be a couple years.
Oh, lengthy and expensive. All right, bad idea. Gotcha.
Yeah.
As I noticed, there's a few on here. One of these has been, I think, abandoned for I don't know how long. That 334 Colonel Ledyard Highway.
Well, that one that's on the Founder's Way thing, and that's going to be that's donated.
No,
Yeah,
it's
they
not.
just-
Town
Was it?
voted to transfer to Avalonia back in 2019. It's not transferred yet, but that's going to go to Avalonia.
The house that's blighted is not. That's not part of that. The
I
town
thought
has
it
been trying
was.
to do that. No,
Yeah,
So
didn't
we
he
keep-
want to build a road, I think, or something through there? In the
right. But he never got, every time they got to the point that they were gonna, try to foreclose on it or do something, the guy comes and cleans it up. Or
No.
pays the lien. So they haven't gotten that. So I've been talking with Avalonia about another access sort of right next to it. And then they were gonna carve off,
You mean
building lot.
332?
yes. But then there's another access to that whole parcel via Groton. So that transfer can still take place because Avalonia does have access. It's not in Ledyard, but it does have access. And then if someday they do get that 334, the new lot has a strip sort of right next to it so that
Yeah.
you could access and go up right by it. So, but he keeps paying. You lien the property and he'll come pay.
I thought EastCon Properties owned 334.
Yeah, they do. But they,
Interesting.
whenever we do the blight thing, and then clean it up and lien the property, he pays it. He pays the.
Mm.
whatever.
Okay,
All right. Well,
But we're still
um,
trying.
So we'll move on then to item, where am I? Item number 4. The Clark Farm property, potential future use for the 101.8 acres, 1025. Isn't that right? Yeah, Colonel Ledyard Highway. And that's,
No
any
action on
discussion.
that, right?
Yeah, we don't have anything there, so we can, we're just gonna keep that on the agenda. Because it says, Chairman Dabrowski says it's controlled by the council, so we'll just leave that there. Item number 5, status update regarding security and safety concerns regarding park on East Street.
I have an update on that one.
Thank you, because I do not.
Okay, regarding the ongoing mission to make the park safe on East Drive, a meeting was held this morning with Parks and Recreation Director Scott Johnson, Ledyard Police Department Chief Rich, Mayor Allen, and residents William and Blakely Jameson. Current issues are someone stole the lock at the gate, and the gate has helped, but it is not the right size for the park, according to the Jameson family. Issues regarding lighting are still being worked on. Teenagers recently were yelling vulgarities at a young boy and threatened to stab him. This is per the Jameson family. Officer Andrade from Ledyard Police Department has periodically checked in with the Jameson family, and the family appreciates everyone's time on this matter. So it's still a work in progress.
Okay. So are they, what are they doing to address the gate? They're gonna,
Well, I don't know. I'll have to get an update from Police Chief Rich and Mayor Allen, but this is what the Jameson family told me, and
okay,
they had just gotten out of the meeting.
gotcha, okay. So, and I can help follow up with that as well. Do we
We
have
can
any?
follow up with Scott Johnson too,
Yep.
PNR director.
Any other discussion on this?
Nope.
We'll leave this on and get some status updates for next month on this to see the progress. Any other old business proper to come before the committee?
None.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Discussion regarding Public Act 21-29 and act concerning the Zoning Enabling Act, accessory apartments, training for certain land use officials, municipal affordable housing plans, and a commission on Connecticut development and future.
Give you the part of that whole act that speaks to the accessory apartments. There's nothing in there that's any good at all for Ledyard. I am not in support of it. Not one bit.
You know, I mean, I know this isn't for us to at this time to, you know, do anything. I just wanted to get it on there to talk about that, so we can have this on our radar. And I agree with you, Councilor Marshall. You know, I've looked at and read Mr. Treaster's comments and done some research myself, and just as a resident, you know, myself, I don't think this is good for Ledyard. And I think, and you know, I don't think it's for us.
Okay, so I would like to hear from Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Tony Capon, who is on tonight, but also in speaking with Mike Cherry tonight, he mentioned something about regulations that you currently have or are working on, Mr. Capon, with planning and zoning. Can you update us on that?
Update you a little bit. Accessory dwelling units are already permitted in Ledyard. They are section 8.1, I believe, of our regulations. We are in the process of developing regulations for ADUs. They will be proposed at our meeting in April. If they are moved forward by the commission, there will be a public hearing in May on those regulations. At that point, the public will have an opportunity to weigh in on those regulations. They will also have an opportunity, because the regulations will deal with Public Act 2129. They will have an opportunity to express their opinion on Public Act 2129. Beyond that, I really don't have a whole lot of comment.
Mike Cherry had mentioned something about regulations that were devised in 2018. Do you know anything about that, Juliet Hobbs?
In 2018?
Mhm. Because he said from 2018 to now, there's only been 4 accessory dwelling units.
Well, they updated their regulations. I thought it was 2017, but
He was off a year.
yeah, I'm not sure what changed in those regulations. I think it was taking out the, that it had to be, an in-law, a related person.
Right.
You just currently don't allow detached accessory dwelling units. You allow the attached. And I would point out that there's some flaws in Eric Treaster's material. There are things that are just blatantly not true. Hopefully I'll get a chance to counter his last email, because it implies that planning and zoning has the power to regulate certain things that they do not have the power to regulate, no matter what. If we opt out or don't opt out, you just simply can't regulate certain things. That's dictated by statute. So I know he feels strongly about it, but he's not always correct in everything that he puts forward. So just
Mr. Cherry had, Mike Cherry had mentioned to me that if you opt out, that eventually you're going to have to deal with this anyway. And that planning and zoning is working on regulations now. I would like to hear what you have to say about the Mr. Treaster's letter. If you can write that up for us for our next meeting. And then if we could invite Mr. Cherry, Chairman Paul, I would appreciate that too, because I would like to hear all the facts before we decide anything.
But I mean, right now, this is really just this is for planning and zoning.
Right.
I mean,
the council can't do anything before planning and zoning.
Right, and
Okay.
so this is here just to kind of put on our radar. And I just, and my thing was in some aspect, I guess, it does impact. So I just wanted to at least get it on there and allow us to talk about it and learn a little bit in case it does get here where we'll already be ahead.
Right,
So,
but even when it does come to town council, I want all the facts from
Right.
everyone, so that I don't want to jump to a conclusion.
but that's kind of why I just wanted to get some discussion going on it. I have concerns too. I share, some of the same sentiments. I grew up in Ledyard. I don't want to see, the landscape change all that drastically. That I think that
But have you seen the planning and zoning regulations?
I was talking about what this would do. So I don't,
Well, I'll share you the draft, because I struggle with what the opposition here is. It baffles me, but
well, yeah,
and I would
well,
also say that,
I'm legit to
but
it.
he's not on staff anymore. So you should probably get your facts from your attorney, your zoning official, and your planning director, and your chairman.
And I would comment that this will go to council only if planning and zoning holds a public hearing to opt out on 2129, and only if we opt out on 2129. Otherwise, this does not go to council. This is a planning and zoning matter.
Yep.
At this point, at our last planning and zoning meeting, no one made a motion to hold a public hearing to opt out on 2129. So that is currently not on our agenda. What probably will be on our agenda is a motion to adopt revised ADU regulations, and that will be the public hearing. In the event that we decide not to adopt those regulations, that will then force us to opt out of 2129, because if we do not opt out of 2129, 2129 becomes effective. So that's the process that planning and zoning is pursuing at this point. It is not the process that Mr. Treaster wants to follow, but that's the process that planning and zoning wants to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we can, keep this, on the agenda and just kind of keep it floating around, but, and that's exactly what it is. It's not for us to make any decisions on. That's summed it right up. So we can have our opinions on them and we can keep those floating around and go from there. So.
And anyone is welcome to come to the public hearing that we're going to have when we propose the regulations, and people have an opportunity to express their opinions. But I agree with Ms. Hodge that a number of the things that Mr. Treaster has stated in several of his missives are simply not correct.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that you said on record that we need to come to that, because I think it's important that the people of Ledyard come out and hear all the facts and make their decision.
And I'll definitely write up something, you know,
Thank you.
how to summarize the facts.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Gary, section 9, where it talks about the training of zoning and planning and on a commission, requires 4 hours of training. That part really should go to admin, because it's going to be a cost. There's going to be travel involved. There's records being kept. Who does that? That's really kind of an admin thing, don't you think?
My department keeps track of that.
Okay.
That's my job.
I wasn't following you there.
That comes out of our budget as well.
The training?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, each budget, everybody has a budget, EDCs, Wetlands Conservation Commission, you know, whoever has to do the training, there's a budget. They have a budget line item for that.
Okay, I wasn't aware that it went that deep. So all our members on any commission have had this training?
Not yet. It's just come into play. So, well, actually, Eric Treaster, Tony, and I'm on a planning and zoning commission in another town, but we've completed 1 hour, and then we're setting up trainings for each of the other commissions.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, is there any other old business proper to come before the, I'm sorry, is there any other business proper to come before the committee?
Nope.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn then?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so Council Marshall seconded that?
Yes.
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was the shortest meeting that we've had.
Right.
Hey,
40
Gary, great job with the owl. I can see both you and Naomi at the same time.
Hey, I'm a pro already. Look at that.
It's really clear too.
That's not so good on my side.
That's not a good thing.
Very impressed.
He's my basement. So that's where I've been. So
That's
I
really
appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for all the comments and everything else. Thank you very much.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.